When I was growing up, well, mostly in my teens specifically, there were a couple book based movies that I already knew about and franchises I was already a huge fan of. Harry Potter, and that was mainly because that one was coming around to its end, and after all, I grew up with those movies as I went on and on in those reviews. Divergent, the first two Divergent movies are fantastic, but I don't want to sit through the suffering pile of freaking piece of garbage that is Allegiant, so I don't want to review that this time. And The Hunger Games was the third one. And yeah, it still holds up surprisingly well, even though I do have my problems with Mockingjay Part 1 specifically, but let's start by talking about the original Hunger Games, released in 2012, I believe. And it's a great adaptation of the book. I've read the book, I have the book, it is a great story, and it was ripe for a movie adaptation. And they had the right, I believe they had the author involved in some way. And of course, it's the big breakout role of one Jennifer Lawrence. You could argue without this movie, she wouldn't be as popular as she is. But she is amazing as Katniss Everdeen. And then, of course, our boy Josh Hutcherson, from Five Nights at Freddy's. This was one of his big roles before he ended up taking on that role years later as Pizza. And he is great in this role, too. And then you have a bunch of other really good side roles, some big actors in there. You got Woody Harrelson in there, which I never thought they would do, but they got Woody Harrelson, and he is great as always. And then, of course, you have the actual Hunger Games themselves, which are tense, dark, brutal, violent, emotional, and a joy to watch. They did an amazing job adapting that part of the novel into the actual story of the movie really well. Everyone's casted great, the costumes are great, the writing, everything's pretty much spot on. I have little to nothing to complain about. If I had to complain about one thing, it's that it takes a while to actually get to the games itself. And of course, there's Liam Hemsworth, who deserved better than being stuck in a side role like that. But overall, I love this movie, and it still holds up surprisingly well. If it weren't for the fact that it takes forever to actually get to the games itself, and it can drag its feet a little bit, I would definitely give this a 10. But it's not quite there. It's about on the same level of quality as Sorcerer's Stone, which is ironic because they both start franchises, so final verdict for The Hunger Games is an easy high 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10. Excuse me, I had something stuck in my throat. Hiccups. Definitely check this one out if you haven't seen it already. Don't let the whole young adult teen novel adaptation thing drive you away. It's not freaking Twilight. It is not nearly that bad. It is a great film that did a great job adapting a great source material. So absolutely check this one out if you haven't already. Highly recommended. I'll see you next time when we take a look at its surprisingly even better sequel, Catching Fire.